Welcome back to the Vegans Who Live podcast. We are your hosts, Miss Meatless Muscle, aka Brooke Sellers, and Bodybuilding Vegan, John Thomas. What is up, John?
What's up, dude? I like how we put our Instagram handles as who we are, and then our actual birth names are our AKAs. But I mean, to be fair, I think more people know me as the bodybuilding vegan than they do as John Thomas. But
Yeah, I had a client sign up with me and pay me, and she was like, "I never got your name. I just know you as Miss Meatless." And I'm like, "I'm Brooke."
that's how you've made it. You've created a whole other image for yourself. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's creative. Like we had no creative control over our birth names, so um,
I
that's why
know.
we can. Anyways, so today we got some pretty useful, applicable, tangible information on how to deal with either if you're a bodybuilder, you might call it the off season. If you're a lifestyle client or a lifestyle person, you might call it a bulking or growth season. There's definitely nothing off about the off season if you're doing it right. That is one thing my coach really instilled in me is like the athletes that take their off season pretty much as seriously as their prep, those are the ones that make differences from show to show. I'm sure you've been to shows or seen people post on Instagram for years. And they're like, I can't even tell it like 2019 to 2020. I can't tell a difference. You look the same. And it's because they're not treating their off seasons correctly. So definitely something to cover here. But first, I say we stick to the script. It's been a minute. I'm ready for question game.
Question game. All right, let's see what we got today. Ooh, fun. Okay, if you could live in any fictional world, what would it be? Everyone
Dang.
knows my answer.
You gotta be Harry Potter world.
Definitely the wizarding world.
But what if you
Absolutely.
were a muggle?
Ugh, that would suck. Well, hopefully, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take a mudblood. I'll take half blood. I'll take pure blood. I'll take anything.
I guess there were still like pretty important characters in that couldn't use magic, right? Maybe.
Hagrid technically could not use magic. He was forbidden from using magic, which was stupid. But yes,
Well, he was still half a troll. I mean, dude was
giant.
yoked. He could be a strongman. He could just go over to the Muggle world and win every strongman competition.
Yeah, I know. And he would like secretly use magic behind everybody's back, but I mean, I would hope to be a wizard. Like if I could
Yeah.
just hang out like in Diagon Alley and stuff and like, I mean, I would love to go to Hogwarts, obviously. That would be the coolest thing, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of trouble though. As long as Voldemort was taken care of, 'cause there was a lot of trouble going on.
You know what though? In Harry Potter, the villain was a little more clear. In real life, the villain is it's not any one person. It's all these
Very true.
corporations. Um, All right. Well, I'm just gonna say like Lord of the Rings, that's out for me. Nope, because they don't have air conditioning, and like I need air conditioning. Um, it has to be somewhere at least as technologically built as we are right now, if not more advanced. So maybe Star Wars. Like it's a long time ago, I know that, but they're pretty technologically advanced. I think they have air conditioning. I'm sure they could make some. This is a hard question. I was not prepared for this. I'm prepared for like this is one of those questions that like it's how do you think, not what do you actually know. Man. Um
I'm trying to think
I
besides that.
I do think Star Wars would be cool because like well, I haven't even explored the whole world here, but like they can go to other planets just like that. Like
Yeah.
even if you're just a
Or
regular person.
even like I think Guardians of the Galaxy would be super cool. Like everybody's just got a spaceship. Like it's like having a car. So you just like go and travel around the different planets. Like that would be really cool. Talking
I
raccoons.
think yeah, I think either of those would be I think Star Wars just goes a little bit more nostalgic for me. Yeah, yeah, I
I
think it
mean,
has to be
Star
something
Wars
like that.
Yeah, there was some really nice planets. Like, I mean, like obviously there were some planets you wouldn't want to live on. Like, I mean, Tatooine was kind of like shitty and like just like a big desert, and like, then you've got, all the raiders and stuff who'll come kill you. But like there were some really nice
Yeah,
places
yeah.
that you could
Naboo
live.
was cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I'm doing Star Wars. I'm going with that. I don't know why, but that's
You could have a
yeah.
droid,
You got it. You can have droids. If you cut your hand off, you can get a fresh robot hand put on. I mean, yeah, it's got to be Star Wars.
lightsaber, and if you're a
Yeah,
Jedi, you can do all the Jedi mind tricks.
might even find a cute alien if you're single. There's all sorts of
Might
things
even
out
find a cute alien. Your best friend could be a Wookiee. That would be
there.
pretty dope. If
Am
you
I
need
Han Solo?
anybody, yeah, if you
No,
need anybody's head ripped off, you got somebody.
just got to master the Force. All right. Been trying to lift weights my whole life, but really, I just need to use my mind.
Seriously.
Well, Allie and I started watching that. We got through episode 4 and 5. I still need to get her to watch 6, so that'll be next. Maybe we'll do the prequels. I'm not gonna lie. 7, 8, and 9 are not my favorites. They're just
Yeah.
not. I don't know. I hate to be a downer, but like I feel like they could have done better. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's hard with Star Wars because like and like even like the new ones, although I think they did a good job for a few of them. Like I don't know if you saw Rogue One. I was really
Oh, Rogue
impressed,
One is good. Yeah.
very impressed with that one. I was like, oh yeah, like they're gonna have a good series. And even like The Force Awakens, like I really liked Kylo Ren, honestly. I thought he was a good villain. But they kind of lost me with that new Han Solo movie they came out. To be honest, I didn't even make it like 20 minutes into the movie. So, it just was not it was not good to me.
That shows how different we are. Cause like that was like I liked that one more than 7, 8, or 9.
No way.
Right. Then again, I've only seen it once. Maybe I went in with really high expectations. Like Star Wars was such a cornerstone of my childhood and like time with my dad, where I was like, "Oh, episode 7 is gonna be amazing," and then like it was probably okay or solid, and I was like, "Well, it fell short." Whereas with Han Solo, I was like, "This is gonna be stupid," and then I actually enjoyed myself. So I don't know. I don't remember all of it. It's been a minute, but
Did you like
yeah.
The Mandalorian?
Mandalorian was decent. I feel
I
like
thought it
it
was pretty
took a
good.
while. I think I got to 2 or 3 seasons deep. I don't know if there's more. Um,
No, they haven't made any new ones.
and then I started watching Andor. That was good, but it was so far since I had seen Rogue One last that I missed some things. And then I think there's the Ashoka. I don't
I
know.
haven't seen that one. I
I've
have had
heard
so
it's
many people, yeah, people say it's really good.
honestly, I'm trying to swing a business trip to Disney with Allie because I haven't been in forever, and like go try some vegan food there, and also just go around all the Star Wars stuff because I haven't been since they added the Star Wars stuff.
Me either. I'm dying to go. I want to go so bad with Steve because he hasn't been to Disney, and so I really want to go. And the vegan food there is really really impressive. The
Maybe
Mickey pretzels are vegan, and Dole
I'm
Whip.
gonna kill some pretzels, dude. Oh my
Dude, I will
god.
get so fat at Disney, and I will have no shame. And I will
We'll just
probably buy a lightsaber.
we'll use some plant medicine. We'll wander around for 5 hours before the hunger kicks in. We'll have 30,000 steps, and then we can eat.
Look, the
Well, then
great thing, the great thing about going to these parks when you're an adult is you have credit cards and you can buy whatever you want. Because I used to go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and they're like, no, you can get a cloak, or you can get a wand, or you can get an owl. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm getting everything here. I'm getting the Gryffindor shirt. I'm gonna get all of the candy. I'm gonna get a butterbeer. I'm gonna walk around. Literally, I walk around with the robe, the wand. If fuck it, I get all the. I mean, I get as many wands. I'm like, I'm gonna get Sirius Black's wand, Ron's wand, like you know. So if I'm going to Star Wars World, I'm throwing down. I'm getting the lightsaber. I don't even know. I don't even. They probably have awesome merch though, so that's what I'm there for sure.
well, as we teach in the Vegans Who Lift Business Academy. We can put all that on our business credit cards. It's a verifiable expense because we're going to make a reel out of it. So it's a business expense. Might as well. Yeah.
Yeah, here's all the things that I ate at Disney World that were vegan.
Oh, shoot.
IRS?
Yeah. Yeah. Clue them in. Dang. Well, we might have to plan like a double date Disney trip.
Dude, I'm so down. Like, maybe October or something. October is cool because they have it decorated for Halloween and
And
it's a little bit nicer.
it's literally cool because
Yeah.
it's so hot right now.
Oh yeah, no, we're not going in the summer
That is,
again.
we just got back from the Atlanta Street Fair. How hot was that?
Oh,
I was soaked.
I know, and that's not even Orlando. Orlando is brutal. Oh my god. And yeah, and you don't really want to go in the summer anyways when all the kids are out of school because you cannot ride shit.
Oh,
You can't
I
ride
was
shit.
actually I was actually thinking about booking something in the next month, and
Wait
then
till kids go back. Yep.
yeah, maybe even like the first week, back to school week, and go on like a Tuesday.
Yes. Highly recommend. Yes.
All right. Well, good enough that my calendar is booked for freaking forever anyway, so I'll be able to fit that in the next 3 months. But, all right, very cool. All right, well, jumping into today, off season slash bulking slash gaining tips as a vegan in the gym, some things that you guys might have overlooked. Let's hop right in. Do you have one for you to start with?
Well, I also just wanted to mention if you are a competitor, sometimes off season isn't even about, gaining and building. For me, my off season wasn't. And for a lot of people, off season is not necessarily about building. So my feedback was do not touch anything except for your upper glutes. So for me, I couldn't go, eat a bunch of food and train really hard. I had to be very mindful about my training. But regardless, my off season was more so about my health, and I'm seeing that quite often in the bodybuilding community. Not a lot of people talk about it, so I want to be one of the people who talks about it. Is going through a health phase after a show, a long period of competing, where you get your gut health in check, you get your hormones in check, um, and whatever else needs to be taken care of so that you can compete again. Because if your body's not functioning properly on the inside, it's not going to perform well and get that stage leak. It's not going to peak properly when you want it to. So it's very important to take an off season where you get healthy. If you're not really where you should be physiologically, take that time and then you can go compete again. So off seasons are just going to be different for everybody. I know for you, it's pretty much always like you got to put on muscle. And then for me, it's like I got to be careful not to put on too much muscle, but I can talk about that too, like in how I changed my training.
Yeah, I think we can cover it from two angles. We can cover it from, a division limited athlete, like your bikini. So you're limited on how big you can get, whereas I'm open bodybuilding, the bigger, the better. Then we also probably have listeners that are in like classic physique, or if you're a men's physique pro, those classes have weight limits. Do the women? I don't think women have any weight limits. It's just height, and then subjective guidelines.
Right. Yeah. So it's, your guidelines, your balance, but yeah, you pretty much have no weight cap. So it's just basically fitting the criteria.
So what I will say, should have probably covered this on the cutting one. Like, you don't need to change up your training a lot when you're in prep. Like, you shouldn't do doing sets of 8. Now you're doing sets of 20 to burn more calories. And it's kind of the same thing when you're bulking. Like, you can grow doing sets of 20. You get on a hack squat and you press all the way to. It's more about finding failure. Whether you want to find failure at 8 reps or 20 reps, you got to find failure. That'll help. That'll help you with your training. Just because you're in the off season doesn't mean you want to just drastically increase your volume. I got a lot of clients saying like, "Oh, I had one guy like, hey, I'm just not feeling this in my triceps. I don't feel triceps at all. I think we should do a lot more volume." And I'm like, we should actually find a way to make sure you're training and contracting and squeezing and working the muscle group and doing it efficiently and effectively, as opposed to just like throwing boatloads of volume your way. Um, So yeah, training doesn't change that much. You're just hopefully going to be seeing, like at least for me or from a client that's in a bulking phase, like trying to add mass, we're looking for performance increases, and not just by any means necessary, keeping your form consistent and finding ways to get stronger and train harder without throwing form out the window and without just blindly adding a bunch of volume. But so for you, how would, or for a competitor that's maybe like you, that's in a weight limited class that needs to bring up a specific muscle group, what changes would you make for your training, or did you make?
Yeah, so I think I'm in a unique situation, but I'm sure there's probably other people listening who may relate to this. But I mean, I would say most people, even if you're a bikini athlete, you probably need to bring up everything. I'm just in a very unique position where I pretty much have everything. My last show, I lost a lot of my glutes, and that's just part of bodybuilding. You sometimes you diet down too much, you over cardio, and you lose muscle. So that's what happened to me. So I had to be very strategic with my training. So my coach actually looked at my training and said that I was going way too hard, way too heavy, and we needed to focus on time under tension instead of lifting a lot of weight. So that was really helpful for me. The other thing is when I slowed down the movement, because my biggest issue is my quads. That is my biggest issue with bikini. Is I my quads are really too much for bikini, and I actually have to pose now to hide my quads. So I got a new posing coach, and we've been working on how to hide my quads with posing, and that's a whole nother story. But with my training, we took out quads completely. Done. I don't do any quads, like targeting quads. No, I haven't done a leg extension, and I don't even know how long. So I only hit glutes and hamstrings. And again, I focus on really time under tension. So, which also really helps me because, like in a hip thrust, for example, my quads will still activate and really try to take over the movement. And when that happens, my coach is like, stop. You need to change your range of motion, shorten your range of motion so that it's staying on the glutes. So it was a totally new style of training for me, which initially I was kind of nervous about and scared about because I've always trained as heavy as I could, as hard as I could, as many sets as I could. It was just always about like going in there and just giving 100% everything I had. And now I'm like slowing down the movement, going way slower, going way lighter, not doing nearly as much volume, leaving out like an entire muscle group. So I was really nervous about it, but it worked and my shape has completely changed. And I really enjoy the workouts now. Honestly, my joints don't get as beat up, my low back doesn't get beat up. So like you said, adding needless volume just because you're bulking or whatever isn't, really always going to do the job. And I think for most people, they're not really training right anyways. So like adding a whole bunch of weight is only going to cause more issues. But like for me, I just had to focus on more like posterior chain movements. So like instead of doing squats, like I really only do hip thrusts for like my compounds or like deadlifts, RDLs. I do a lot of glute isolation, a lot. Um, and yeah, I hardly ever work quads because quads are gonna be activated anyways in hip thrust and glute bridges and hip abductions, all of that stuff. So I mean, my quads get hit enough. So I would say, if you have a specific muscle group that you need to bring up and you are in a unique situation where nothing else really needs to be touched, then make sure that you're adding lots of isolation in for that particular muscle group. And I think, volume and frequency for that muscle group too. So instead of like hitting glutes and hamstrings twice a week, I'm doing 3 times a week instead of in replace of that quad day. So yeah, I think, it's kind of a unique situation, but it can certainly be done. And I see other girls um who are in the same situation and they have to do the same thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, be intentional with your training. You have to go in there and have a reason for what you're doing. Um, I still probably need my legs to grow to be where I need to be at for like men's open, but I don't need to hit them nearly as much as I need to hit my upper body. And I can train legs pretty hard. I would say you and I are both more of that athlete. that's like, I'd rather do 100% every single day than 90% once. And
Yeah.
so it's weird to like do less sets on legs and to only do legs once every 7 days. It's definitely different from a mindset perspective. My mindset is I want to grow upper body. So same for you. You want to grow that upper glute shelf and not really overdevelop anything else. Um, Next one that just comes to mind, do your damn cardio, even though you're bulking. Like, yes, there is going to be cardio. I don't care if you think you're a hard gainer. I don't believe in that. Like, I don't believe that's a real thing. Some people have really high step counts of their jobs. It might be an exception, but for most people, you need to do cardio. If you're me, if you're 250 pounds, you need to do cardio so you can go up 2 flights of stairs without being completely winded. Your training is going to suffer if you don't have good cardiovascular endurance. Like if you're trying to do a set of 20 on hack squats and your heart is giving out before your legs, that's a problem. And then lastly, like if you're struggling to eat, if you're like, oh my God, I eat so much food, well, throw in some cardio. It's going to increase your appetite. So, and help you digest that food. If you can break up your cardio, at least get your steps in, but like do it post meal if possible for steps, and then cardio whenever you want to do direct cardio. It can help with digestion as well. So that would be my next tip. Like, don't take out the cardio just because you're bulking.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and I mean, studies have even shown that, cardiovascular health better cardiovascular health helps you build more muscle. So, just doing 20 minutes of cardio is not gonna kill your gains, it's actually gonna help you, and I think a lot of people underestimate that. And again, like we always say, hire a coach, so you can figure out exactly what cardio you should be doing and how much. Because there's also girls I know, especially in bikini, who way over cardio in their off season. So, like, yes, do cardio, but don't way overdo your cardio. Like, you're not in prep, like you do need to gain some weight. So like having a coach is really important so that they can guide you and tell you like this is too much or this is too little. Like you need to have some sort of balance there because if you're doing an hour of cardio, 45 minutes of cardio in your off season, what are you going to do in your prep? Like where do you go from there? And so that was something I had to do, was pull back my cardio a lot during my off season, which was fine. But again, relative to my situation, I had some adrenal issues, so I had to pull back my cardio and really just focused on steps. I didn't do any sort of like high intensity. My first coach had me doing a ton of hit training, so I would do hit training almost 2 to 3 times a week. And none of that. I don't do any of that. Even in this prep, I don't do any sort of hit training, which I have a much better coach now. So, that plays a role too. But yeah, cardio is important. It's just like, find your balance because I know a lot of girls way overdo their cardio.
Yeah. And for what you spoke on, in case people don't know or understand, like cardio pretty much outside of like for heart health is just in play. It's almost like a dieting tool. Almost like you can eat less calories or you can do more cardio to an extent. If you're doing dedicated cardio, interval training, those can all raise cortisol, which can then slow down fat burning and then encourage your body to slow down its metabolism. But steps, just your own body weight, walking on a flat surface or slight incline steps really aren't going to drive up that cortisol response nearly as much. And so, yeah, 15,000 steps might be a lot, but that's how you're creating for you a pretty big deficit, but it's not that taxing on your body. So just something to consider depending upon where you're at in your off season and how you want to achieve it. Um, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. Hiring a coach can be really helpful because if you've ever competed before, it is a weird feeling to get the leanest you've been in your life and have to accept the fact that you can't stay there. The analogy that I make for clients is like it's almost like you're a diver, like in the ocean, but you don't have a scuba tank. You can dive, you can go down 30, 40, 50 feet. You're going to have to come back up. And once you come back up, you can't go immediately right back down. And if you come back up 10 feet, that doesn't mean you can go back down 10 feet. You got to come all the way back up. You got to come back up to being healthy. and hang out there for a bit before you can go back under. And for some people, myself included, it's hard to look in the mirror when I'm up at that sea level area where I'm back to being healthy. Like, I know I've looked better objectively for bodybuilding standards in my life. And it would be a bit harder if I didn't have a coach telling me, that's okay though. Like, you're in the right spot, or you're doing good, or, look at how much more we're eating and how much more we're doing in the gym. Yes, you've added a little bit of body fat, but that's a part of the plan. That's part of the process. Additionally, I have a mini diet coming up here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And the fat side of me is like, I don't want a mini diet. I just want to bulk, 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 bulk. And I know I need to do it. Objectively, as a coach, I could look and be like, yep, we're about at that point where a little mini diet would be good. Slow down some of the digestive processes, do a little extra cardio, and just get a little bit leaner before the next big push. But I don't want to do it. But that's why I pay somebody to tell me what to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I know I got a DM just yesterday about a girl. She was like, "Well, how do I know when I need to cut?" And I'm like, "Well, that would be a good answer for a coach." So yeah, definitely having a coach is, and again, I think with just even like body image, because I felt like that through my whole off season. I'm like, God, I look like shit. I look terrible. But then it's like, a coach is like, well, I mean, you have to give yourself some space here. Like, I mean, you can't be lean forever. You have to know that. And also, like, a lot of the top pros, like, I mean, a lot of people have really good off seasons, but there's a lot of people who have, pretty crazy off seasons. So, and not saying that they go off their diet, but like just everybody's body is different. So, like, I hear a lot of people say, oh, hang out around 10 pounds above stage weight. That's not everybody. And it's kind of helpful when a coach tells you that. Like, coach is like, look, I have Olympians who are 20, 25 pounds above stage weight in their off season. Like, it is what it is. Everybody's different. Someone is going to be more inclined to hold body fat, and then someone else is going to be more inclined to lose muscle. Like, it just, everyone's different. And I've even seen, I think it's nice that now more and more people are being a little bit more open about their off season. Like, I saw Marissa Andrews share her before and after and her off season, and she gained a lot of weight, and she was just saying, like, food is my biggest struggle with bodybuilding. Like, that is the hardest part for me, and it is really hard for me to not rebound like crazy after a show. I just eat everything. But I really appreciate the honesty there, because it just shows you that, like, these are people too, and like bodybuilding is a tough sport. Like, it's hard not to just diet down for so many weeks and then not enjoy food and not go out with your friends and do all the things that you haven't been able to do. But then again, having a coach can help you there, where your coach is like, hey, no, you're in a good spot. You're really not as bad off as you think you are, versus like, hey, you really got to dial it in. Like, it's getting a little bit out of hand. And they're coming from a good place. Like, they're not just giving you a hard time, because, I feel like sometimes people see you at the gym and they're like, even at my gym, like, there was this lady who I was like a week out. She's like, it would be great if you could just maintain this. And I'm like, it would be great, but that's not ever going to happen. Like, it's not how this works, but a coach knows. They know their shit. So they can tell you, like, hey, you've gone off the deep end. We got to reel it in a little bit. Or like, hey, you're not so bad. You're in a good spot. So, don't be so hard on yourself.
I agree 100%. It takes the guesswork out and the mental anguish out. That's why, even though I've been coaching for almost 4 years now, I've had a coach for 5. It makes it easier for me. I don't want to sit here and second guess myself all day long, because I will do that. I've done that in the past. I know what it's like to be self-coached. Um, Next tip, kind of the opposite of our last episode, trying to find foods for bulk. Um, a lot of vegans have problems here because they're like, "Ooh, I need to eat like whole foods, plant based, and be super duper healthy, and I'm gonna have a kale salad with a green smoothie for breakfast, and like this giant quinoa bowl with all the veggies raw, of course, because raw is better." And I'm like, now we're sitting at 150 grams of fiber a day, and you live in the bathroom. This is not a good look. I really try to help people here as best I can for free. But at the end of the day, it helps to work with them and know exactly what they're eating. But finding those more nutrient dense foods doesn't necessarily have to mean it's junk food, but like avocados, even dark chocolate for fats. I mean, any nuts or nut butters will really be good for fats. Then for carbs, I love white rice. That's going to be a big staple, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, brown rice is better, or oats are better, quinoa is better." It's like, go eat 500 grams of carbs worth of anything like quinoa or brown rice or oats, and tell me how your stomach feels. If you haven't done it, you don't know. So if you're struggling to get your food in, white rice or white rice alternatives is going to be the best thing for carbs. So cream of rice, rice noodles, rice cakes, rice pasta, any of those can be huge. And then for protein, everybody seems to be different here. Even this week alone, I've had some people be like, tofu's not feeling great. I'm getting digestive issues. Another person's like, sig race is wonderful. Another person, sig race, I can't tolerate. I fart too much. I'm like, man, there's like no rhyme or reason here. Same thing with protein powders. Some work great for some people, not for. So like for proteins, you got to do a little bit of self experimentation. Once you find what works, stick with it. Rotate through a few different ones throughout the day. Um, but yeah, it's like almost the opposite of cutting. You need to find foods that are a bit more nutrient dense. For me, I even succumb to this too. Like I want to have veggies at every meal and eat a lot of them, like 200 grams of cooked spinach, or half a pound of green bean. And then I'm like, do I really need to be doing that 6 meals a day? And I've cut down my vegetable intake, which freaks me out in one way, but in the other, it's like I'm digesting this better. I feel better. Maybe I didn't need as many veggies as I've been prescribing myself. So um yeah, things that vegans might run into when bulking right there.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is something I run into with people on the internet all the time, and it's kind of frustrating to me because I feel like the Whole Foods camp, and look, no hate, if that works for you, awesome. But I feel like a lot of those people kind of shame and put down people who eat anything that is not a whole food. Even if like 80% of my day is whole foods, they will give me shit for having a little bit of protein powder or having some tofu. And I do understand that it's kind of like the people are really passionate about it because I know a lot of people get great results. Like they have, less chronic issues and all sorts of different things. But look, as somebody who went through a very like horrific GI issue and disorder, I had IBS and I had SIBO. I would have been in the hospital if I was doing Whole Foods. I like period. Period. And I did that for a long time. I'm like, why am I so sick? Like I eat so healthy. But it's because it's a lot of fiber. If you have a sensitive GI system, if you have something like SIBO or you have gut dysbiosis or you have leaky gut or you have IBS, some sort of digestive issue, you may not be able to do all whole foods. I'm just talking 100% whole foods. You should try to do as many whole foods as you can, and that's what I do now. But not everyone can do the whole foods plant-based diet, like period. But it's hard with with these people, this camp of people, because all they think is, nope, this is the best diet in the world. All your issues, all your problems would be fixed if you would just eat whole foods and not eat a single processed food. Like they just believe like this is the end all be all. But it's like you said, it's just not necessarily going to work for every single person, what their goals are, their body. I mean, I can't, like you said, I can't even do brown rice. If I do brown rice, I'm like literally in pain. Like it's terrible. So I feel like you have to know your body. Now, I'm not telling people not to do whole foods. I do mostly whole foods, but it's like for me, if it's like I can have oats once a day, but then the other meal needs to be like a cream of rice or a white rice or something. Like it's about balance, because otherwise, I'm blown up. I feel like crap. My GI is not happy. So, it's difficult with the Whole Foods people because they're just so passionate, which is good, about their nutrition and what they're doing. But I really wish they would not at least give other people a hard time who can't follow Whole Foods, you know?
Well, I think about it like this. Show me anybody that follows a whole foods plant-based diet that's 240, 250, 260 pounds of muscle.
True.
I've never seen one. Never seen a raw vegan that size. So for bodybuilding, it's out. Now, if I could prescribe a singular diet to the entirety of the United States to try and curb our obesity epidemic, whole foods plant-based, sure. Because you could do like Brooke, like, well, maybe not depending upon your gut, but like if you're only needing 1600, 1800, maybe 2000 calories a day, you could probably do that whole foods plant-based if you pick the right foods and fruits and nuts and stuff, and it wouldn't be too much fiber, too hard on you. But if you're an athlete, you typically, other than in prep situations, need more than that. You need more protein than that, and so do most other athletes. So what I would say, build your base. Whatever your base is a day, I'm going to get 5 veggies or 500 grams of veggies, whatever it is. I'm going to get this much fruits, this much healthy fats, and that's how I do my diet and how I do the diet for my clients. Like that foundation is in there year round. Then if they're in prep or in a cut, I add a little bit more to fill in the gaps. If they're in a bulk, we add in a lot more, and it's usually going to be things like white rice that just have no negative health repercussions. They also don't necessarily have a whole bunch of like health positives either. Like, oats or potatoes are going to have more potassium, more vitamins and minerals, but if you're getting 6,000 calories a day, you don't need that much more. Um, yeah. So, I mean, a little bit of self experimentation. I do agree, though. They like not all whole foods plant-based people, but a lot that are
Right.
vocal online try to put down, oh, you're a vegan, but you eat junk food. It's like, well, joke's on you, buddy. Vegan is an ethical principle. It is not a diet, because you could cheat on a vegan diet, but you can't cheat on vegan beliefs. So
Good
I
point. That needs to be
yeah,
my response.
like I got vegan tattooed on the side of my head, not because I love vegetables, but because I hate killing animals. There's a little bit of a difference there. Um, Shit, I used to not eat vegetables as a vegan for a long time. Like I'd not even want to get a pizza that had vegetables on it.
Oh my god. I know I love vegetables. I just can't tolerate too many of them. But but truly it's just everyone's different. And that's what I learned through going through my off season and all my health issues was like, what works for some people just doesn't work for everybody. Like I could never do raw vegan. It just would not work for me. And I mean, I just don't really necessarily believe in it either. But I think that's what's hard about like the whole food plant-based like warrior people, like keyboard warrior people, is it's like they just don't really understand that like what works for them does not work for everybody. Like not everybody's going to be able to do, like beans and lentils for their protein sources. Like I would feel terrible.
Yeah. It's funny, like I feel like if you're vegan, we're all on the same. Like if you want to eat potato chips and Oreos all day long, that's your choice. It's
Right.
kind of like how many people give vegans crap if they smoke cigarettes? Like I don't see that. I don't see that very often. It's like they get holier than thou on the food, but like
Or drink.
you go
Yeah.
drink alcohol. Yeah. How many people die a year from alcohol poisoning and from drunk driving? Like we got other issues. All right, reeling this back into bulking. We didn't hit this for the cutting, but we can do it now for bulking. Any supplements that would be different for you or your clients during a bulk?
During a bulk.
Like creatine's in year round. Um, Actually, I do have one. If your food's getting high, betaine HCl can help you digest protein with some of your meals. That could be an option. Um, I still like
Yeah.
intra-workout nutrition, but that's kind of year-round as well. I don't really consider protein shakes supplements. I just consider that food.
I know, me too. Yeah, I mean, it's like with anything else, it's like really it doesn't change drastically. Like you're like just like your training and your nutrition, like it should kind of relatively be the same. But I think it's like you said, but again, person to person, I feel like some people are just like soak up a bunch of food and they're like so depleted, they're ready for a bulk and they're fine. But if you do have digestive issues, there are some things that that you can implement, of course. My off season, very different. I had a ton of gut issues. So I had a laundry list of supplements. But that was just specific to my gut issues, my adrenal issues, and my hormone issues. But if your like goal is just strictly putting on muscle, I mean, I really don't think you would need anything extra. It's just, and that's kind of the thing too, is like, it's really a lifestyle. Like if you're going to do bodybuilding long term and like you do want to be competitive and you want to compete, your in season and off season just is not that much different. I mean, it's just a little bit more sustainable in the off season, depending on what your goals are. But it's a lifestyle. It's the people who like they work out and they train when they're in season, and then that all goes out the window when they're off season. That's not even an off season. That's just like, I don't even know if
Off.
that's it's just off. Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to rack my brain for anything helpful. I think general guidelines per month, you probably don't want to be gaining much more than like 1% of your body weight. So if you're a 100-pound bikini competitor, that's about a pound a month. You're a 200-pound dude, maybe 2 pounds a month. You start doing much more than that, unless, I mean, like the only corollary here is like if it's your first enhanced cycle and you haven't quite hit your natural potential yet, you might be able to eke out a bit more than that. But otherwise, for natural athletes or anybody that's been enhanced for a while, if you're gaining much more than 1% of your body weight per month, you're just getting fat. And nobody wants to get fat because then you got to cut longer. So yeah, like dirty bulking for me, like that's out. What I have noticed is for me, my set point has kind of dropped over the years. Like I almost say like every time I hit 240, it's been a better 240. Because I hit 240 back in like 2019, then I cut and then I went bulked back above it. And next time I look better and better and better and better. I'm able to be leaner each off season, especially after this last show. Like I got kind of have abs at 250 this morning. Like I've never had that before. So pushing down as low as I did the show kind of, I think, allowed me to be leaner after, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip. The other thing is, women who are scared of a gaining phase or a building phase, you don't have to put on a whole bunch of body fat. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
I think bulking, like you said, like this dirty bulking has kind of been a little bit glorified on social media. Like you see all these crazy meals that people eat, and like you said, people not doing cardio. Like they're like, "Oh, I'm not doing cardio, I'm bulking," and all sorts of things. But that truly is not really how a strategic building phase should be, like where where it's actually calculated, like this is, and I would say that's important if you're going into a building phase and you want to bring up everything. You need to figure out like where are you even going, like how much weight are you even putting on, how much each week, how much each month. And you have to be realistic, like you said, about like how much fat are you putting on versus muscle. And people, I think a lot of times don't realize when they're first starting a bulk, it's way easier to put on fat than it is muscle. Like just because you train and you're eating a bunch of protein does not mean it's going to convert over to muscle. That does not work. It does not work like that. Muscle, I always try to explain this to my clients, like fat loss, easy. Honestly, most of the time, fat loss is easy. It's just being in a deficit and it just comes off of you. Muscle, there's not really much you can do except for go in the gym, tear down the muscle, eat, sleep, let it repair, and then do it all over again. And you just have to be patient with it. It's time. So, all these people who think they can eat a crazy amount of food and train and it'll just turn to muscle. That's not the case. Like body fat is way easier, especially post show. You have a unique period where it's actually easier to put on body fat. Again, why reversing is very, very important. You can't just go crazy. Um, so yeah, it's if you're a woman and you're scared of doing a building phase, because I have women come to me all the time who are they want to build muscle, but like they don't want to put on body fat. They don't want to see the scale go up. You don't have to put on a whole bunch of body fat. And in fact, most women I feel like can really main gain, hang out around maintenance or slightly above, like a slight surplus. You don't have to be in like a crazy 500-600 calorie surplus to build muscle. It's, you know, again, glorified on social media and other platforms, but there's a strategic way that you go about it so that you're mostly putting on muscle. And then when you are ready for fat loss, it's relatively easy to get that fat off. And, you have more muscle than you started with. And you followed a plan. Like it wasn't just guess, like, and let's see what happens when I cut next time.
Have a plan and stick to it. I love it. Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it there. I have a whole lot else to contribute. If you're whole foods plant-based and you're worried about trying it a different way, get the app like Chronometer. You can plug in all your foods and make sure you're not having a nutritional deficiency. And probably everybody should do this from time to time, unless you just inherently know exactly what you're eating and what you're getting. And then from there, I guess this could be included blood work. Blood work's great to get in the off season as well as in prep, but in the off season especially, like I just had a client submit his, and his D3 was a little bit low, so I double checked with him to see how much D3 he's actually doing. It was actually about half of what we're supposed to be at, so I'm going to raise his D3 to where it should be. And then his B12 came back off the charts because he had a B12 supplement and a B complex supplement. I'm like, we could probably just leave that B12 out because you don't need to be off the charts. It doesn't really hurt. Like B12, it's not going to get stored up in your systems. It's a water soluble vitamin, so you pee it out. That's why if you take a lot of B vitamins, you'll see your urine turn yellow or even almost like orange or green. But blood work can really help you nail down any nutrient deficiencies if you think you have any. So, yeah, use the off season to get healthy. If you're a competitor or anybody else, like that's your time to kind of grow and heal before pushing back into a prep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess mini diets, that can also be a thing. I would say like anything under 8 weeks could be considered a mini diet. If you're doing your bulk and things get a little out of hand, rein it back in for 6 to 8 weeks and then go back into your bulk. Aside of that, that's all I got.
Yeah, I definitely would second getting blood work in your off season because so many people get blood work just during their prep, and typically your blood work is going to be shit during your prep. So it is good to see like where your baseline is when you're actually fueling and eating properly. Um, and you want to see your numbers improve. You want to see them go up. Well, depending on what they are. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think staying on top of blood work regularly is really important, and it just gives you a good idea of where your body hangs out when you're not starving and overtraining.
Yeah. I encourage all my clients to get blood work. Do you directly facilitate that for yours as well if they need it?
If they need it, I strongly, strongly push them to get it. Typically, I just have people start out and I see how they respond. If something's weird, if something's off, then I'll have them run blood work. Or if they already have blood work, I'll have them submit it. But yeah, I send them through Life Extension. I don't Have you heard of Life Extension?
The supplement company?
Yeah.
Or oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do lab requisites, and they just send it to your email, and then you can go to any lab core, and that's how I do mine too, because it's like super affordable, and you can also like choose different ones, like like if you just wanted T3, like I just needed TPO actually, TPO antibodies and ATA, so I just had that done. I just bought 2 of them. It was like $56 and just went and had that done. So it's a really good resource. I hate going to the
All right.
doctor too.
Yeah, if you guys need blood work and you don't have insurance, you don't have a doctor, you don't need it. Reach out to broker. I offer that for any of my clients, and I do some one-on-one consults if people need that as well. So no reason not to get it done, and it's usually not that expensive. I don't think I've had anybody pay more than $300, and that included like everything for thyroid, blood health across the board, vitamins, minerals. So yeah, super helpful stuff. I just saw Sean left a comment, Death Star planet killer. I guess that's one part of the Star Wars universe. You might just be waking up to go to work today, and there goes your planet. It gets blown up. But
Oh my
hopefully,
gosh, yeah, seriously.
this is post Death Star. It's already been destroyed. We're safe. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, all right, dude. Well, I think that's all I got for today. Anything else on your end?
No, I think we're good. I think we gave some good information.
I think we're good. If you guys got any more questions, you can leave them for us at the veganswholiftpodcast.com. This has been another episode brought to you by Brooke Sellers and John Thomas, aka Miss Meatless Muscle and the Bodybuilding Vegan. Hope you guys enjoy these bulking tips. Please send them to somebody that needs some help gaining. It could be like your little nudge, wink, wink. You know, you're dating a guy and he needs to get a little more jacked. Send him this episode. We'll see how he takes it. And with that, I hope y'all have the best day ever. We'll see y'all next time. Take care.